Hi everyone, my name is Dan. I'm a teenager and I really wanted a car. It became my dream. Well, what kid doesn't want his own car at 16? Here I wanted very much, and I directly persuaded my parents to give me a Lamborghini. We had money in the family. I mean, we didn't starve and didn't finish the last piece of bread, but my father was very adamant. He always believed that since I was his son, a boy, I simply had to earn the car myself. He promised to sponsor some part of it, but I had to pull out the main part myself. Dad, come on, it costs $3 million. I have to work and work up to it. What do you think? Money falling from the sky? No, son. Work. I'm a teenager. How can I make money? Study. I started out with something too. I remember you're the son of a baker, but I'm the son of a businessman. So I'll give you some money. My father didn't give me a cent for my first car, but you stole it and wrecked it. That was another stupid story. I shouldn't have told you that in the first place. Okay, so how do I make money? Look for ads. You've got your whole life to do it. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome. Free advice, by the way. Dad chatted and fucked around, and I left his bedroom upset. My mum tried to talk my dad into it, but he wouldn't let me. That's pretty much how we agreed. And then, on my father's advice, I got a part-time job. I took some dirty jobs. I'd never cleaned gardens, cleaned up dog poop, delivered food at a cafe, washed dishes, cleaned the floor, or watched children before, but I had to. As you can see, I sucked at my job. So much so that when I was helping the gardener, I accidentally shaved my lawn bald. Dog poop stuck to my soles and I smeared it all over the park. A policeman noticed it. I dropped a soup order in the cafe right on an old lady's cleavage. I broke a mountain of dishes when I was washing. And when I was mopping the floors, the admin slipped and broke his leg. What a loser. Yeah, that was me, as it turned out. I didn't just get fired from everything, I got thrown out too. It took me about 2 weeks to do it all. I came home tired, with no money and with bruises. There was no point in complaining to my father. My mother only stroked me on the head. I came to school angry when I heard my classmates discussing Lily, our other classmate. Did you hear? She got a part-time job looking after this lonely grandma, and that's what she did. Come on, did she really earn her way to the car by working as a nurse? I'm telling you, that's for sure. How long did she work for? 6 months or so. She just looked after her very well, plus her grandmother was rich. She kind of gave her a car. It was cheap, but now she has her own car. How cool is that? Yeah. Dan, what are you looking at? What? It's an interesting story. Well, we weren't talking to you. Is it true about Lily? Have you seen her car? She doesn't have much of a family, so it's true. I went on the internet, but I couldn't find anything good. On the way home, my mum asked me to run to the store. I was quickly looking for the groceries I needed to buy, and then I saw some grandpa arguing with the clerk. The clerk said that the grandfather had hit the milk with his wheelchair and the bag was torn, asking for payment. The grandfather said that he had accidentally hit it with his wheelchair and that he had no money to buy the milk. So they wouldn't fight, I just paid with my pocket money. But on the way out, Grandpa stopped me, thanked me, and then asked me to come over to his house for a chat. In the evening, with nothing to do, I went over to the Grandpa's house. It was an old little house. We got talking and I told him that I was saving up for my dream car. This grandfather complimented me on my efforts. He asked me to cook him dinner and somehow I managed it. It turned out that he had lived alone. His son was too busy, visiting but rarely. I felt sorry for him. I cleaned his house, put his things in order, cleaned, washed dishes, floors, windows. The grandfather turned out to be very interesting. At the end of the night, he gave me 2 lottery tickets for the Lambo. Wow, are you serious? But what if you're lucky? Thank you. Come to my place tomorrow. We'll have tea. No one wants to talk to me. Sure, I will. My mood improved because there was hope. Almost every day I visited this grandfather and helped him. I did it for free. I just liked taking care of him and I wasn't bored. There was going to be a raffle in 3 weeks. I was very worried and this grandfather came with me. He said he was going to walk at the same time. I had 2 tickets in my hands. There were a lot of people around, both adults and children. And then the drum roll. My first ticket, nothing. Second ticket, and also nothing. My Lambo was taken by some guy. Everyone was congratulating him, hugging him. I also rejoiced for him, though not sincerely. Don't worry, everything will be fine. You may be unlucky today, but you will be lucky tomorrow. I understand. I just want everything at once, and it doesn't happen, as my father says. I'm not going to argue with him, but I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes you're closer to your goal than you think. Sure, I have $2,999,000 left to save. You already have $1. Yeah, they paid me that at the cafe to get out of there. Who cares? You earned it. I walked the grandpa out and went home. My dad decided to talk to me that night. I see you've really taken up earning money. You're hardly ever home after school. I tried, but now I can't work yet. Got a girlfriend? No, a grandpa. What? I made friends with the grandfather. He's lonely and poor. I take care of him. He taught me how to cook, do laundry, and clean. Why do you need that? I like talking to him, I guess. He's smart and not boring. Your car won't buy itself. I know, but I have my whole life ahead of me, and Grandpa doesn't. Dad thought about it, and then he took out of the safe $5,000 and said, Here's my down payment on a car. You can save it or spend it, but they say money is for money. You might get lucky. Wow, thanks, Dad. Despite that amount, money was still tight. All night long, I thought it was time for me to get a real job. But how? After all, now I spent all my free time with this grandfather. I did not want to leave him, but I also needed the money. I went to his house, grabbed his favorite cookies for his tea, knocked on the door as usual, but there was no answer. Then another and another. Silence. I climbed in through the window and saw him lying on the floor, unconscious. I quickly called an ambulance, but it turned out that he had had a heart attack. There had been an argument with his son on the phone. I felt so sorry for him. The doctor said he needed an operation and that he didn't have that kind of money. It cost $5,000. I didn't hesitate to spend everything I had on him. I visited him in the hospital for a week, and when he got better, he said one thing. You don't get a dime with me. You waste your time. You also spent all the money on me, even though I'm not even related to you. A car doesn't buy itself. Sir, it's my pleasure to spend time with you. I won't leave you like your son. I certainly won't now. You don't have to. I know, that's why I want to stay. When he came out of hospital, I had already prepared everything properly, cleaned up, prepared a meal. We sat down at the table, and then there was a knock on the door. His son came in. I had seen the man before. He had won my Lambo. The son immediately threw a tantrum, started demanding an inheritance, and didn't even ask how his dad's health was. I was so angry that I threw a bowl of soup at him, which I had already experienced. That man wanted to attack me, and this grandfather kicked his son out of the house. He calmed me down and then started thinking. What are you thinking about, sir? Are you feeling bad? Just that I raised a bad man, but it seems that God has given me a chance to right a wrong. What do you mean? My new grandfather took a piece of paper out of his locker, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. What a twist! He wrote me a check for $3 million. I was gasping with emotion. I couldn't understand where he got that kind of money from, and then he told me that he was actually very rich, but he had decided to live a modest life so he could rest in his old age. He gave an impressive sum to charity. Because of that, he quarreled with his son. He stayed in the mansion, and the grandfather decided to leave a modest life, but there was money in the account, so he decided to give it to me. You gave me the last of it for my surgery. I want to give you everything I have for your future. Suit yourself. I almost cried from happiness. I bought my Lambo in a week and was proud that I had essentially earned it myself.
I am the son of a senator. How does that sound to you? Sure it does. This automatically assumes a green light in all directions. And you know what? Being the son of a senator is much cooler than being a senator yourself. Would you like to visit my place and feel what it's like? I will tell you an unforgettable story. My name is Dima. I was born and raised in a family of politicians and businessmen. In principle, it is the same. So my great-grandfather and grandfather were officials or deputies. They didn't exactly dream about it. It just happened that life decided for them. Here is how I, for example, grew up the son of a senator. Did anyone ask me that? You will think that I am the greedy child of a rich father, a people's thief, a corrupt official. I will not comment or justify anything to my parents. I will only say that there is a downside, but about everything in order. As a toddler, I didn't understand all the possibilities I had. I had food, toys, parents, a house, everything for school, but I considered it mundane. When I got a little older, I started having companies, a lot of companies. Everyone wanted to be friends with me. I was popular. I had the coolest car in school and an expensive phone. Then I got a taste of parties. At first, all this caused great excitement. Every night we would go together with friends and I would drive them around the city, or we would go to a club and hang out until the morning. I felt all powerful. I always got away with any kind of jams. Broke a window at school, Dad paid. Broke someone else's car, Dad paid. Beat someone, Dad paid. I didn't need a woman's attention because that was enough. Girls don't need much. I gave them flowers, phones, clothes, just gave them money, and they were mine. It was so simple. Over time, easy accessibility became annoying. I wanted something more extreme, interesting. And one day, after leaving the club, I came up with a crazy idea. My friends and I had a bet that I could surprise them within an hour. So the first thing I saw on the street was an ambulance. It was parked at one of the entrances. My friends were looking at me, and I stole the car. It was just open. I turned on the signals and drove at full speed. Damn, it was something. I was laughing. On the way, I gave everyone the middle finger. I didn't care because I was invincible. Of course, the car was found later, but they figured me out. As always, the police came home. I opened the door, and they began to rub me something about a number of violations. I yawned back at them and asked sleepily, "How much?" Money decides everything. But then my father came up to me, and of course, all the employees knew him. They immediately told me what I had done. My father took a deep breath. I know that look. It meant that he was displeased with me. He'll probably threaten to block all my payment cards again, take my car, and so on. That's not all. He didn't just steal a car. The ambulance was on the road, and the doctors had to hospitalize a seriously ill child. When they reached the street, the car was gone. In general, that child got worse. The parents went to see your son, they said. Damn, I thought, but not that. Can I get away with it this time? I thought. After the police had left, telling me to report to the police station and visit the family on my own, my father called me into his office. I sat down in a chair, and Dad took out the alcohol, poured it into a glass, and drank it in one gulp. When you were born, I couldn't believe my luck. I promised myself right away that I would give you everything you ever wanted, but especially a choice. The ability to choose your own path in life. Choose everything from the style of clothing, school, profession. I didn't have that. You know, your grandfather and his father were unwavering. They chose the future for their children. The road was predetermined, but I didn't want to be stewed in this mess. I wanted to be an architect. Even just secretly signed up for a course. Of course, my father found out about it and was furious, my father began to say. I wasn't sure what he was getting at, but then father said that he was forced to become a senator, that is, to follow in the family footsteps. And when I was born, he said he wouldn't force me to do anything I didn't want to do. Every time before I buy something for you, or choose an educational institution, I asked you, suggested options, and asked your opinion. Have you ever felt violated? What happened to you, son? Why did you do this? He asked. I didn't know what to say. Perhaps he gave me too much choice. I was just bored and didn't want anyone to get hurt. I went out of my father's study, drooping in myself, and locked myself in my room. I've never felt worse. I had nothing to say for myself. This time, he didn't go to the station to solve my problems. I understood everything, packed up and went myself. I was fined and told to work community service hours. Yes, I didn't hold a broom with a rod in my hands, but I didn't say anything. Then I went to the hospital to see the family. This was the most difficult test. I was trembling with excitement. Found the room and saw that there was a boy about 6 years old. Next to him, his mother. She was asleep, sitting on a chair. She woke up when I came in and didn't know who I was. I barely had the heart to tell her who I was. There was so much anger in her eyes. She turned to me and slapped me a few times. I was just silent and didn't move. She had every right to do so. In our room, the nurses immediately gathered and took me out. She barely managed to calm down. She called me almost a murderer and chased me away. It's a good thing no one there knew who my father was. I didn't want him to suffer for my thoughtlessness. Then I went up to the chief doctor and found out the boy's diagnosis. Turns out he needed an expensive operation. I didn't hesitate to ask how much. I needed a lot of money. After I got out of the hospital, I went straight to Max's. Max is an old friend of mine. He's been looking at my car for a long time, so I sold it on the spot, took the money, and went back to the hospital, put the wad of money in an envelope on the doctor's desk, and told him to do the operation immediately. Then I asked not to tell my name to the boy's parents. When I got home, my friends called me. They've lost me since yesterday. I felt so bad that I wanted to share it with someone, and I told them everything. The only response I got was, "What are we going to do today?" That's when I realized that no, they are not friends. I hung up and went to bed. After this situation, I did not leave the house for some time, only worked public working hours. I didn't talk to anyone at home. Then I went back to the hospital where I found out that the operation was performed on the boy and it was successful. You can't imagine how happy I was to hear that. Did I ever manage not to screw up? Elated, I ran out of the hospital and ran to my dad's office. Emotionally, I told him the good news and hugged him. Then I apologized for everything. Dad was silent for a long time, but then he said that he was proud of me. It was then that I realized what I wanted to do in the future. After leaving school, I went to university, and after that, I opened a small charity fund to help sick children.